eminent panel in this session, and I will invite each of them on the stage. We have as our session chair Mr. C.K. Khetan, who is the Joint Secretary, Ministry of Urban Development, Government of India. May I invite you on the stage, sir? Give a big hand, please. May I invite Mona Kandhar, who is the Secretary, Department of Urban Development and Urban Housing, Government of Gujarat. Welcome on the stage, madam. Thanks for being here. May I invite Shri Anju Parvez, who is the Managing Director of Bangalore Metropolitan Transport Corporation. Thanks for being here, Anju. Thank you on the stage. May I invite Amaya Abhyankar, who is the District Magistrate of England. Welcome on the stage, Abhay. Is he around? Wait, okay, we will be joining soon. May I invite Anil Shukla, who is the Joint Commissioner of Police Traffic, Delhi Police on the stage. Welcome on the stage. Anilji, bring a big hand. May I invite Prashant Chaudhary from CA Technologies. Welcome, Prashant, on the stage. May I invite Dr. Pawan Kumar, who is the Associate Town and Country Planner of the Ministry of Urban Development, Government of India. Pawanji, welcome on the stage. Ravi P. Gupta, who is the Head of Information Technology Group, Delhi Integrated Multi-Model Tracking System. Welcome, Mr. Sir. So, I will hand over the session to Khetan sir. And
good afternoon, friends. This session is about urban transport, communication and networking for creation of smart cities. So I'll start with the background. I'll deal more with our experience in Gujarat. So I would like to talk about what we have initiated is what is called GIFT, that is Gandhinagar International Financial Tech City. So basically the concept with which we started the project sometime in 2006 was that we were seeing that in India and more so with Gujarat, because Gujarat is one of the fastest urbanizing states of India. It has a great growth story. It was witnessing 10 plus GSDP every year. growth and lot of urbanization, migration to urban area. So we were seeing it as a growth opportunity and need for creating cities that are sustainable, engines of growth and smart also to meet all the requirement of emerging India, emerging Gujarat as such. Because what we are finding is to compete globally and internationally, we need to increase our productivity. We have been seeing that our human resources, given the environment in the developed countries, they produce and their productivity is much better. So why not provide the same environment here? And as the previous speaker said, it is well-being or healthy state is not only absence of disease, but healthy mind, healthy body, and healthy social environment. So that is what was the concept. Along with that, a very healthy business environment. So this was the master plan. This is conceived in Gandhinagar area, which is quite close to Gandhinagar and near urban, Ahmedabad airport. It is just 12 kilometers from Ahmedabad airport. And what we were looking at was building 62 million square feet of commercial space and other 30 million square feet of residential and other social infrastructure. So it was being planned as a very holistic township that is not only smart, so it provides smart business environment, very state-of-the-art technology. It is all, international level technology, all basic infrastructure, but that infrastructure is smart, intelligent, automatic. Retail cum entertainment hubs, overall connectivity through transport and ICT, all the state-of-the-art social infrastructure and integrated residential development. So for that purpose, we have set up GIFT Urban Development Authority to ensure that there is an integrated and well-planned development of the smart city. We have a GIFT notified committee for better coordination and management and to take all the decisions. So it is a lot of decentralization of decision making. The business structure of GIFT is, it is very much connected with export since it is a multi-service SEZ with international financial services, and that status has already been approved by Government of India. With this attached is a domestic finance center and corporate offices and trade center, and along with that associated infrastructure, housing and other civic and social facilities. So basically, when we were planning smart city of GIFT, the infrastructure facilities that we planned, most important are road and transportation. The basic development begins with that. Without this, no development can come up. Water systems, ICT, power generation and distribution, these are all our basic civic amenities. But they are done in such a manner that they are smart, assuring more than 99% of security and availability throughout the year. Along with that, landscaping, waste management system and maintenance systems. So to begin with, it is very well connected. It is planned to be very well connected with a grid of 6 arterial roads, metro rail transport system and BRTS connecting GIFT to Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar. These are the external road connectivity that is provided by the state government. These are the internal transportation where there are arterial road, sub-arterial road and MRTS corridor. Multi-level parking at various locations as per the requirement. Then smart transportation with interactive road maps, automatic vehicle location and tracking system, transit node management, road condition system for repair and maintenance. It is very important, and real-time travel response so that we know where exactly it is getting congested and how do we manage that, and parking management. These are the transmission mains for water supply system, So this is a water infrastructure with water metering, leak detection and controllers. So basically a smart distribution system. District cooling system, it is very important to make it sustainable, environment friendly, and controlling the use of energy within the city. Automated solid waste management is again very, very important. So it is collection and segregation at source, and then there is a utility tunnel through which it is transported, and there is a micro level treatment and processing plants. So providing automated integrated solid waste management within the city. Power infrastructure, again the reliability is more than 99%, which means outage of only 5.3 minutes in a year. So it involves power supplying, monitoring the power supply, power loss minimization. We all are aware kind of T&D losses we experience, grievance redressal system, and power consumption and efficiency monitoring, and emergency power supply monitoring. The utility tunnel is integrated utility tunnel. You can see in on the left top corner that all the utilities are provided in a single tunnel, and it is all underground. So ICT vision of GIFT to make it to provide excellent services for all important international benchmarks, and it has been compared with other international financial centers, and accordingly it has been run. So the ICT vision, if we talk about only about ICT vision, then infrastructure is all high-speed fiber network, diverse local and international connectivity, pervasive wireless and mobile network, and data centers of state-of-the-art level. All the platforms, all the important platforms with city, portal, sensor networks, IPTV, internet gateway, and the services of data, voice, Wi-Fi, Tier 4 data centers, business continuity, security, and high-speed internet access. I would also like to talk about BRTS experience of Ahmedabad city. Basically, 85 kilometers of network has already been functional. It has been made functional, and I will straightway go to the intelligent transit system that has been implemented. So the vision, this is a complete BRTS integration with railway, innovative. Innovative way to manage constraints in the sense that that double-decker structure has been provided, where on the from the top of it runs the BRTS and below is the metro. Then this is the ITS framework. The company, the SPV is called Janmarg for Ahmedabad, and this ICT network is within the bus. Managing the entire system through global positioning system. Everything has been completely integrated in ITMS structure. These are the state-of-the-art control room. It is a passenger information system, automatic sliding windows, doors and windows, automatic vehicle location system. This is about Surat, where it is switched over from fixed time traffic control to adaptive traffic control, wherein the variable allocation of green time has been given based on the demand. So before that there was a fixed green time, but now it is made variable allocation of green time. Then it responds to traffic dynamically rather than having a static response to traffic depending upon the time-wise variation during the day. And the entire process of traffic police is to observe, monitor and manage traffic to pass through intersection, and that is which is completely automatized. About metro that we are going to implement in Ahmedabad. The similar type of ITS is being installed. It is proposed to be installed. The telecommunication. So Again, another smart city under implementation is a special investment region of Dholera. And especially I'll deal with the ICT master plan for Dholera. And some of the key findings are to create a single scalable advanced optical fiber network across the entire development region. And the Regional Development Authority will retain the right of the way for all the service providers. And it will increase the land value through other development and development of other infrastructure in addition to ICT infrastructure. And there is going to be an efficient operating model for smart ICT services. The entire business will be managed by Regional Development Authority. It will address the needs of the community residing there as well as the business community. This is the operating model for Dholera SIR region, where the management is done by Smart Dholera Coordination Cell for this entire thing. There is an open access network provider where which can be accessed by service providers. There is an active and passive network controlled by SDCC. And this is the detailed business plan for ICT service, where we can see that at the end of 2050, the NPV is about 600 crore. One important thing I would like to mention is, I think some couple of slides are missing. So this is what we have been implementing in Gujarat. Under two smart city projects, one is GIFT and the other one is Dholera. And the BRTS at Surat and Ahmedabad, ICT is being implemented very widely and very well integrated, completely integrated with BRTS. Thank you.
Now, simply the time constraint, we can have only two questions, one on making GIFT City and one on BRTS. Otherwise, we can proceed. Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Anil Shukla, Conductor Police Traffic Delhi, he has some other commitments, so we can allow him to overtake. Being light instructor, he is allowed to overtake.
Thank you very much, sir, for this opportunity. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the technology will provide us with endless possibilities. I'll give a very brief overview of what a smart city can look like. My friend Mona has already detailed what is the vision in Gujarat. But I think what we are trying to do in various parts of India is trying to get the best of everything. I think, sir, this is something which will not work. We should optimize. We should not go for the best of everything. Because when you go for the best of everything, you require a lot of money. And sometimes scalable modeling, scalability and modular building is the right way to move forward. Sir, in Delhi, as you know, it's the most populous as far as vehicles are concerned. We have got 85 lakh registered vehicles. Though it is blessed with a lot of road space, still we see a lot of congestion. On a prosecution and enforcement basis, we do approximately 50,000 odd challans every day. But it used to be manual. Last year we switched on from manual to a PDA device, which we say an e-challan device. Those who are in Delhi might have seen traffic cops now engaging in prosecution through this device. Now these are GPRS enabled devices. With this device, we have been able to not only have a record of people who are offenders, previous offenders, but a detailed policy has been framed out that who are the repeat traffic offenders, be it auto or commercial drivers. So it helps us in maintaining a database, and this database is of much use when you go to court for the fine and other things. So this is just a process flow in which the challan machine works. And we have made a dashboard through which we can see all challans happening in real time. So who is doing what challans, we know. What kinds of challans have been done, what are the traffic signal violation challans at 12 o'clock, I can see by 12:15. But there's a little time lag. So similarly, all the challans can be seen on a real-time basis. So we have recently launched a very popular traffic police app. Some of you might have seen it. This is a dashboard which I'm just showing. This is available on Android phones. It will soon be available maybe in a week or 10 days time on Apple OS and Windows OS. And this gives us instant traffic alert, traffic advisories. Now the days of going for the data, that is, pulling the data out of websites is over. In fact, the notification time is there, so you have to push the data to the customer. So this gives you an instant traffic alert, which are the roads which are waterlogged. So we try and do it. We have a very popular Facebook page where more than 2 lakh followers are there, and they interact it on a very daily basis. So we have got fare calculator for autos, taxis, radio taxis. Any vehicle which is stored away can be found out through our pit locators. All emergency buttons and emergency numbers are available just by the click of one button. And complaint, you can lodge complaints against auto drivers for harassment, overcharging, misbehavior or refusal. You can also lodge complaint against traffic signals not working. You can help police in finding out where exactly. So the entire city has been grid in such a way that every signal is now having a unique number. So we have envisioned as Ms. Mona was telling about the ITMS. The ITMS is envisioned in Delhi. We are waiting for some funds. The project is almost on. So the primary concept would be of red light detection, enforcement, speed detection system, variable message signboard where you can be given information about traffic diversions, similarly speed control systems and adaptive signal control system. This will actually help in a lot of reduction of road accident, road congestion, as well as decrease in travel time and increase in the speed. So this is something which is on for a long time. Unfortunately, some funds have been a matter of constraint. So we'll be able to detect, there will be control through a command and control system of Delhi Police. We already have a city surveillance system which is based on the ICT technology, but the traffic system is still lagging a little bit. So once the procurement is done, we will have variable message signboards, the kind of speed detection systems which interceptor devices. So these will be basically optimizing your travel time rather than giving you always a green corridor, because it is only possible to have these kind of devices when you have one corridor which is saturated, other is free. In Delhi, especially in the peak time, all corridors are saturated. So you have to have an optimal adapter signaling. What is the adaptive signal system? This signal system actually interact with each other. And as the area control system used to work earlier, in 2004 we started with the area traffic control. It worked very well for 5 to 8 years, but finally it gave way because all the junctions, all arms of the junctions are 150% oversaturated. So once you have oversaturation, you actually can't give signaling based on. So we have to go for an optimal adaptive signal system and intelligent ITMS, intelligent traffic system. I will not go into details how it will work. But the benefits are basically it will give us the daily variation, the hourly variation, even the seasonal variation. And it can help us in the VIP movement, giving a green corridor, and the disruptions due to various procession and the change pattern can be actually fed into it, and once it is memorized, would be able to deliver it on day-to-day basis. Similarly, sir, the main problem in India is that once you go abroad, you find the signals are always working. But in India, there is a lot of problem of signals going kaput and not functioning properly. One of the main reasons is the underground cable which connects the signals. So we are going for the RF technology where the wireless signals will interact each other from pole to pole. So rather than going for a underground wired system, we can go for a wireless system. The model has already been placed in Dwarka, it's working quite well. The job can be done within 4 days instead of 15 to 20 days for one signal installation. Basically, it's a pole-mounted master signal, and in case of communication failure, we have a auto backup in power, and basically no road digging, no laying of signal wires, and it is easily removable from one location to the other location. So this is one area I think which requires a lot of interest from transport department. In Delhi, there are approximately 45,000 trucks enter Delhi, out of which 25,000 are overweight. Once they are overloaded, they are difficult to stop. They cause a lot of accident. They cause a lot of congestion because of breakdown on the flyover and bridges. So very motion actually doesn't stop the truck. It only weighs out. So it weighs all the axle loads. Now in Delhi, sir, the penalty charge is 1 rupee for extra kg. So 18 kg tons is the normal weight, but the weight carried by the normal truck is 25. So 7,000 kgs extra. So 7,000 rupees plus 5,000 rupees penalty, 12,000 rupees for one truck. You imagine 12,000 rupees into 25,000. Imagine the money which we are losing. And installation of a way in motion signal system costs just 10 lakh. Can you believe it? So for 11 entry points, we are losing 1 crore a day minimum. So we can really fund it on our own. Similarly, the ITMS, Delhi Police collects and deposits the fine of 50 crore rupees every year to the government. The basic cost of a challan is 100 rupees. Now, so 10,000 rupees, 10,000 are the number of challan which are issued. We can, if we have 85 lakhs vehicle, and we have installed some evaluation cameras in one signal junction at Lodi Road, we were able to find 1,30,000 violation in 1 month. Can you imagine? Every fourth vehicle is offending. So if there are 85 lakh vehicles, even if 50 lakh are running on road, every fourth vehicle offending means 12 lakh violation. Let's leave it at that. Just say that 5 lakhs are offending. I say just imagine 1 lakh are offending. Even 50,000 are offending.
Now if that is the case, so it is 5 times. 10,000 will be doing 5 times. Parliament is going to pass a bill which will enhance from 100 rupees to 400 rupees. So 5 into 420, 20 to 50 crore, 1,000 crore a year. Can't we fund it from a system which is run on a sustainable model basis? This is the basis of a smart city. I think we should look at it. Similarly, in Singapore, we go, we find, oh wow, but they have a ERP, electronic road pricing. Should be installed in congestion areas, especially places like Delhi, Mumbai, where we can utilize ERP technology, where it can easily regulate the vehicular traffic and can actually force people to move from their buses, from their cars onto buses, or to have carpooling, or to have taxi. So the GIS-based public information system which I was talking about is an amazing application where the buses are streamlined and they work like metro. Metro, you go there, you find that every 2 minutes or 3 minutes you are sure that the metro is going to come. So if we can have dedicated corridors which with PIS, the public information setup, we would be able to handle the mass surge of movement of traffic. So just to finally summarize, there are a lot of technologies, sir. All the toll gates used to be, the Gurgaon toll gate came for a lot of adverse notice because of the congestion. The ETA 2 for the High Court to come and actually dismantle it. But there are near field technologies. Instead of an RF technology, we can go for the real field technologies. The near field technology will allow you to move through the toll without actually paying for it. Actually, you can have from your mobile phone, the money will be detected. The moment you cross through, it will be detected from your mobile phone. And in your mobile bill summary, you can have how many calls you have made and how many times you have crossed the toll gate. So these are certain unfortunately, there are certain lobbies, you would appreciate. Some lobbies are there for RF technology, some are for others. But if we can go for a holistic smart city, we should not actually entertain or dismiss any one for the other. So there are a lot of technologies which are available in transport and traffic management sector, and I leave it for experts to actually deliberate. These are our requirements. I would throw it to the industry to find out what optimal advantages they can provide, given the fund constraints and sometimes the delay in funds.
And there is no restriction of passing through the VIP areas, you can go on and pass through. So, yes.
Anilji, not only there is a congestion on the roads, there is also overflow of technology. Like I make it a point to use public transport at least one day a week to keep an eye on what is happening. From last 3-4 years, we have seen that even the autos have been fitted with GPS systems. Every auto owner is supposed to pay, there are the stories when you ask that they are supposed to pay 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees for a meter. And if your meter is not working, then you can't drive an auto. But what do you do with that GPS? There's absolutely nothing.
My friend is here from NIMS.
Let's not, that's the whole point. There is overflow of technology, instruments are being used, they are being implemented, but actually there is no coordination. I sometimes wait at airport, when will the next bus come? Despite the bus having a GPS, we don't know when the next bus will come.
I think you're right. That's what I'm trying to highlight. That GPS, auto-enabled GPS. These autos, my friend from NIMS will explain further. That now you can have an interface directly with the auto, because his position is available on the map of Delhi, and his number is available on a mobile app which they have just recently launched called Pucho. So there are various methods in which we can leverage this technology. But as Indians, if I'm going to turn off the GPS, what can I do?
No, the point is
These are the things
should have been available 4 years back when autos were forced to put GPS devices on their autos. And that should have been the day when people should have been able to pinpoint these autos and all. So what happens is that people lose confidence. If there is no public support and if there is no public confidence in the IT initiative.
I think we learn slowly, as a society. Our expectations are high, I understand that, but we learn slowly. What is your level of intelligence and competence is not there for the people or a person who is actually using the auto. So we learn slowly.
One big compliment, I think the Facebook page of Delhi Traffic Police is the best example of e-governance, the way you issue challans. Everybody should applaud the initiative.
Thank you.
So our third speaker will be Anjum Kavej. He has a lot of experience in transport, especially urban transport.
Very good afternoon to a smart gathering in a smart conference. This word smart, it has a different meaning in different context. Like someday you go in the morning in your office and you find a very nicely dressed colleague and you say that, hey, you're looking so smart today. But by the time in the evening you have a tussle with that person and your response is not trying to act smart. So we have to be very careful when we are talking about a smart city. Are we going to be smart or are we acting smart? And I appreciate the concern which have been shared by Madam Kota Mayor, which are the great importance. When we talk about sustainability, everybody knows the definition. It is not only about being smart, but it is staying smart and not at the cost of others. But you should also be helpful in making the other smart also. And when we come to the sustainability in the transport sector, I'll focus myself on that. Two things are very important: mobility and safety, and local and global environmental issues. Because whenever we are talking about smartness, we should not forget about the environment. So the main aspect of sustainable transport, one is the transportation system management, the environmental management, capacity management, and energy management. I will focus only on the transport system management because other things will take a lot of time. Now these are the horrifying facts of the people who are traveling in this country. And you can see that an average commuter in Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai spends around 8 hours a week getting from home to work and then back. This is the situation in most of the country, and this is the most serious challenge faced by all cities, how to get a matured transport system. This is a very nice graph which shows that as the population of the city increases, the average trip length increases. Now, this is one of the major challenges of the city planner, that how to focus on this aspect, that even if the city is expanding, your traveling time or your trip length is not increasing in that proportion. Otherwise, it defeats the whole purpose of urban mobility. One has to be very careful about this. This is just a slide showing from 1981 to 2001, the population increase was about 1.892%. But see the regular growth population, almost about 14 and 13%, which is evident in almost every city of India. Now, the very interesting slide that if you don't do anything, if you don't become smart, then what is our future? So, in 2007, in category 6 cities, where all Bombay, Delhi, and Bangalore type of city comes, our average speed is 17 km per hour, and if you don't do anything, if we continue in this fashion, in 2031 our average speed will be 6 km per hour. So you can imagine what is the fate we have. And similarly, the volume to average volume to capacity, which is 1.21 at present, it will go to 2.9. So I think it's the right time we have started talking about how to make improvement. But even the worst part is that the public transport was the most neglected part in the whole country after independence up to 2004 and 5. It was only after 2004 and 5 that some focus has started. There is one graph showing that how many vehicles the different STUs have added in different countries. You can see that up to 2007 it was only Bangalore, but after that some more cities have increased their fleet. So this is the kind of focus our urban transport has got from the cities and the planning. And even today, the percentage of public transport is extremely low, and we have to seriously think. Now, this is a very common picture which is shown everywhere, that how much space the car will take, and the cycle and the bus transport. So no doubt the bus transport is the best way of communication in the city if you have to struggle with the traffic problem. But in spite of that, why the number of vehicles are increasing? Everybody is intelligent, they know that yes, if you use the buses, this is what is going to happen. And there are many reasons, because India is a different country, the solution of other places does not apply in the case of country, because you can be smart, but the cost of smartness is also very, very important. So we have to see the affordability part. And one of the reasons is that the rise of middle class, and over a period of time, the public transport was for the captive riders. If you don't have any other option, you go to the buses. And the moment a person becomes rich enough to move from a captive to the choice-making passenger, his choice is either two-wheeler or the bus or something. So, and then our public transport, you know that it is unreliable, crowded, uncomfortable, and different kind of things. Now, I just listed the need of the hour. I will not go into the detail, and because all of us sitting here, we are all aware of this thing, that it has to be a multimodal, time-bound, reliable, cleanness, all these aspects has to be taken. But the most important is the affordable price. I'm just giving an example. In the city of Bangalore, if you are pulling a car, it is cheaper to travel in a car rather than traveling in a public transport. So that is the situation in the city of Bangalore, and more or less it is going to be the situation everywhere. Now all these things if we are talking about, or it's not possible unless we move to the IT and the geospatial technology, and the possibilities are enormous. So it can be used to provide the information prior or during or after the journey is completed through the portable devices, electronic display system, on-board screen, which my friend was talking about, ticket vending machine, electronic ticketing machine. These are all possible scenario of IT. And in fact, day before yesterday, there was a program on TV where it was said that in the recent time, the highest growth in the IT sector is the use of IT in the transport. So there's a new big opportunity which is going to be thrown to the people. These are all, it can be used in security system, it can be used for the common ticketing, preventive maintenance, planning and scheduling and blah blah, and everybody is trying to do that thing. And the game changer is the smartphone. So we cannot think of becoming a smart without a smartphone. So this is the game changer and it has really made the life very, very easy. And the solutions are not very costly, solutions are very, very cheap. But yes, implementing that is very, very difficult. You have to struggle years together to do the implementation, and after that the maintenance. What my friend was telling that we are very quick in putting the GPS system, but it's very difficult to see that the GPS is working or not working. Now we have used in BMTC in all these aspects. I will just quickly go through this. We made a very modest beginning, and this was the first use of IT in the transport sector, and the voice announcement system in the bus that it will give an announcement that which is going to be your next bus stop. And it's a GPS-based, very simple GPS-based technology. And we made a modest beginning with that. And then we jumped to the next level, which happened in 2012. We came up with really a smart website. So website is a smart, but it's really a smart website. And it has both the desktop version as well as the mobile version. And it takes care of all, the scope is, we have done the geocoding of all the buses, bus stops, route management, form 4, bringing some workflow, re-engineering of the process, because IT should not be only seen as an IT application, it should be the whole process re-engineering which has to be associated with the IT. It takes care of the commuter need, that the latest route information and route map and what is happening in BMTC, providing feedback, the complaint, the advanced redressal system. And the focus is basically, the feature is user management, master data setup for divisions, and automatic creation of routes and plans, form 4. And whenever the data is collected, we try to use those data in a very, very analytical way to improve the performance. Now, these are important things for a commuter point of view. You can search the buses based on origin, destination, route number, route timing, transit route. If there is no direct buses available, which are the transit routes we can take, how much more time it is going to take, how much more it is going to cost, and different kind of options are there where you can utilize. But more than website, it is an administrative tool which helps us in creating the route very, very easily. So if some new demand is emerging, I can immediately go and it is linked with the Google Maps. In the Google Map itself, I can create the entire route and I can add all the bus stops. And if I decide today a bus to be started from tomorrow morning, I can start that bus. So it has addition of new route, attachment of bus stop, route modification, and a lot of things. Technology very simple, as I told you, it doesn't cost anything. All are open platforms, so I don't have to spend. To be very frank with you, I spent only about 55 or 60 lakh rupees on this full project, and it is giving wonderful result. As you can see, every day almost about 5,000 users are using this application. Now the next big thing which is going to come in BMTC is the intelligent transport system, which every city is working on that. I will not go into too much of detailing of these things. It is basically the vehicle tracking, electronic ticketing machine, passenger information system. What is unique in this project that till now we were having a concept of CapEx system, that you buy something, you make the entire payment to the vendor, and after that next month the system will not work and you don't know where to go. And we made a big change in this tender that it is not going to be a CapEx. Zero CapEx, all OPEX, monthly installment payment. you make your system functional. If it is working, we will make payment of every working ATM into X into some amount, or every GPS X into some amount. Everything is based on the functionality. So this will bring a lot of accountability on the vendor side, because that is one thing which is missing in our country. The architecture is very simple, we all know, and it will take care of all the computer concern and management concern, operation manager concerns. Now the other thing which is going to be launched very soon in BMTC, the smart card, because when we talk about integration, it is a very important part. So you know that Bangalore is having a metro now, and we are having a bus system. Very soon we are trying to make auto also as a part of organized public transport system, because we cannot run away from that system. And all this solution is going to come in a smart card. So we are going for a 19 application smart card, which will be used for metro also, and buses also, and you can use this as smart card for doing all your purchasing from the retail shop. This model is also a very successful example of public-private partnership. In fact, BMTC is getting 2 crore rupees annually from the vendor who is going to implement it in Axis Bank. And not only that, wherever this smart card is used for the retail purchasing, a certain percentage of that is going to come as a benefit to the BMTC. So it's a no-cost solution. But everything is going to be based on this, and we will do away with the paper ticketing and paper passes and all those things. CCTV we have installed, and now this one thing I want to focus. This is the intelligent transport management system from Bosch, developed with BMTC. The first time in the country we have developed, because till now we are talking about ITS only as a facility to the commuter, but the time has come that the ITS is going. IT is to be used for the different purpose, and what are those different purpose? I will just focus that engine health monitoring is a very important aspect of public transport, and we have to evolve the system of preventive maintenance system. And this system is going to tell me that it's going to give the data about the engine health, it is going to give the data about the fuel efficiency, the driver behavior. It's very important. Just by improving the driver behavior, we can save up to about 15% of the diesel in any kind of vehicle. Then remote diagnosis, that if something tap has burst at a location, then how to get that automatic information to the center so that my team can rush to that place. So this is the other new thing which we have started in BMTC, and we are hopeful that very soon it is going to come up. It's not only about tracking, it is much more beyond tracking. And then the passenger kiosk we are putting in all the major buses stopping. This is going to be very helpful. They don't have to wait at the inquiry office. They can just go and access this kiosk and get the information. Another very important thing is that the corruption in the system. When we talk about the corruption in the system, it's very, very high in the transport sector, not at a very high magnitude, but high quantity. The number is very high. The situation was such that in BMTC, when you get a leave, the conductor and the driver, they have to pay price to the depot manager to get a 1 day or 2 day leave. And this used to be the 95% of the complaint from the people, our workers. So we decided to computerize the whole thing. So we came up with a kiosk-based leave management system. We did not go to the depot manager for the leave. We have automated that 8% of the people working on any particular day, they can apply for leave. Automatically they can do the selection of type of leave that they want, and automatically the leave is sanctioned. Only 2% discretion in the depot manager, and my complaint from the employee has come down by almost about 98%. So these are the examples of how corruption can be handled in the system with the use of IT. Then in-bus camera we have started, and recently Delhi has also started, so this is going to be more and more cities are going to move in that, and they are working as a deterrent as far as the safety and the security of the women are concerned. As you know, in public transport, monitoring and supervision is very important. So we recently came up with a dashboard which goes at the micro level of the monitoring of the operations, and we get all the information by 12:30, 1 o'clock. Yes. By 1 o'clock or 1:30, I get the complete operational detail, what has happened last day, and depending upon that, whatever monitoring and meeting and In fact, we don't use paper for the meeting now. It is the dashboard which is used, and everybody can see that what is happening. It's a web-based application, and data is fed at every depot, and it provides information on all the aspect operation as well as revenue and the breakdown and everything. And then recently we have started using planning and scheduling application because optimization of the route is very, very important. A time has come where the number of buses are becoming more than what we need actually, because the system of operation is not efficient. And this is one tool which will be very useful for taking the decision how the route has to be, what should be the timing of the route, at what time the buses should come. And it will do a very scientific analysis of the whole GPS data which we are going to get from the intelligent transport system, and then modifying them, whether we need 10 buses, whether we need 20 buses, that kind of thing we are going to implement. So a lot of initiatives we have taken, and only thing is that these are all in a very, very advanced stage, but one should be very open for adopting the technology. Technologies are there, and when we're talking about the Smart India, we did not reinvent the whole thing, because whatever we are talking today in conference, it has already been done in some other part of this world. So what we have to identify is the suitable solution for our city. Take as it is, rather than applying too much of mind, because if you start applying your mind too much, it will kill your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The future looks very smart, because after two presentations, I mean, we can make out that in the coming 2 years, there could be good changes for the urban transport sector. By the way, Bangalore Metro is running one of the largest fleet for public transport, and they have the maximum number of luxury buses in any city, considering the requirement of the city. Now, we have any question on this? Now, we'll have a presentation by Mr. Prashant Chaudhary, who is called CA.
Good afternoon, everyone, esteemed panelists, all the delegates and industry friends who are here. I know I'm supposed to do a technology presentation and I'm supposed to talk about rocket science, which can even make some of the cities smart, or even the new cities which are coming, just make them smarter from day one. But I'm not going to do any one of them, because I know that's the one which you're looking for. I will still stick to some of the very basics from a technology perspective. Because what really happens is, unless we understand where the technology plays the role in, and we have experts in each of the areas, we talk about traffic, we talk about water, we talk about energy, we talk about anything from a smart city context. I'm just showing this slide not from saying that who we are, but just to say what experience we carry over these so many years in terms of understanding how some of the smart cities have developed globally, and we bring that experience on the table. Just to bring the perspective here, today if you look at, obviously the topic is primarily talking about networking and communication, but today if you look at not just the traffic, and if I just increase the scope to saying any of the services which you are talking about in a smart city, there is one champion which is at the back end, and which is your IT infrastructure. So what really happens, and from my experience, I've spent 16 years in CA. I've spent last 10 years working with government, whether it was eager projects. Today I can boast of saying if you go to any of your data centers and any of your SWAN networks which were an eager perspective, you will find technologies from our side managing the health of that IT infrastructure. But it happened very late when we realized, and I leave one thought and maybe a question to all of you. Please ask yourself, even what approach we are taking for smart city, we have done them in isolation, in small areas. Have you really not faced challenges that you have a great IT infrastructure, you set up an application and you want to deliver services to whether it is a traffic management system or BRTS, you have faced challenges where some component of your IT infrastructure not responding. if we only focus today, only looking at how we make our cities smarter, but somewhere keep ICT or technology at the back burner, we are going to face the same challenge once we set up those smart cities. So at the same time, my message here is, I think we have to look at not just the systems which are coming, because these systems are not just anything else, they are bringing plethora of IT infrastructure in your state. There will be sensors, there will be cameras, there will be, somebody says the LAN cable doesn't work, and so said LAN cable doesn't work, they're going for RF, there is satellite which is bringing in data, there are millions of applications which will get set up in one smaller room or one large data center. So the challenge which end of the day that smart city is going to face, okay, we have all the data, but it's half of it does not perform because that IT infrastructure is not really responding. That sensor, I think, morning I heard, there is a sensor which is smart enough when there is a garbage collection, even to sense the smell of it. If that sensor goes bad, the truck is still waiting for that sensor to send data. So you have to make sure that there is availability, there is the health monitoring of all your IT infrastructure. And this is just to give a perspective, because at the end of the day when we talk about smart city, we want to make sure there is a citizen who is at the back of the mind. And end of the day, most of you today, when we talk from a smart city context perspective, you have your device at your hand. You are just concerned about the data being delivered on your handheld device, whether it is traffic related, whether it is pollution related, whether it is water related, bus being available. You don't really worry about what's happening at the back end, whether ICT is really performing its task. There are people who have to be responsible for looking at, and that's how you will make cities much more smarter. I'm not here to really escape you, but this is the ground reality. End of the day, we may talk about smart city things, we talk about 20 system, 100 system which will be put in a particular state, in a particular city to make it smarter. But what is there is the back end is this reality, which is you have tons of applications which will have to do their job to still make the city smarter. There has to be an underlying IT platform in form of servers, systems, a particular OS sitting there. There has to be an environment, power, and a complete data center facility which definitely need to be looked at. Unless we really focus at the same time parallelly on this IT infrastructure, a lot of it will get done on books and papers, but at the back end we will still may face challenges which are related to IT infrastructure. Somebody has to be a doctor for that IT environment, IT infrastructure, which will come and get set up in that particular smart city, which obviously, I think from a ego channel has been done to a particular level in states, FGCs and so on, but that's what I just wanted to bring in the perspective. So this is what we are talking about. I know it's primarily not just communication and network, but I think the policymakers, my humble request is, please look at when you set up a plethora of IT systems in place, which are delivering traffic management system, BRTS, water utilities, pollution, garbage control. How are we going to look at health and manageability of that IT infrastructure which comes at the back end? Is there a way where I will have hundreds of panels who will give me all this data, but do I have that one single panel somewhere at the corner, because everything is about smart city, nothing is about the technology right now. One small single panel which can say, hey, this device is not working, so even whatever you do, you are not going to get data from roads or from any equipment which you are deploying in your smart city. So that is one aspect of it, from manageability. All in real time, because that's how you want to look at things. Every time you don't want to look at logs, data reports, so I just want one single console which should be provided to me and which gives me complete help of my smart state, smart city, and I can fix any problem which is related to my IT infrastructure, may be related to anything what it is doing, be it the network component, may the sensor, may the hardware, OS. Applications are key for you. You want to bring in more focus to the application, not just the availability, But please look at existing application in your states, in your projects. Do they perform to a level where you wanted them to do? The moment we increase, the citizens are becoming IT savvy. The moment we increase from 1 lakh to 2 lakh, application response goes for a toss, and then we are struggling just to figure out, oh, I will put 10 more servers. It does not help. So I think please bring in focus to look at what other systems come in. How can we enable our IT environment to be scalable to the level you are looking at when your smart city actually grows to a level? And finally, just to, this is my last slide, this will always come as a concern, if not today, down the line. Oh, we have great systems in place, but who is actually authorized and authenticated or access to that application? You want to make sure those applications, all those smart city applications are secure by bringing in, if banks can do it, why can't we do it for simple applications? I will bring in two-factor authentication for application so that only authorized people, even if they use today mobile technology, they have to have a two-factor authentication as an example, or more security around, because there will be people who will be hacking those applications, trying to collect that data. We are working very closely with Smart Grid, and we are working on things like grid hardening to make it more secure, so that people can't really get into the core applications from there. So manageability, health and security has to be the key concern when it comes to smart city. So I'm not really getting into any technology, I'm just ending it here, and we are all available for any questions later. And thanks.
Any questions on that? Because in intelligent transport system, we are also struggling to put the benchmark, or we are struggling with the integration of the hardware and software. We are also struggling about the interoperability and issues like that. So today morning also we are discussing about this, that our toolkit about ITS is really obsolete in last 2 years. So there are many issues on this. So any questions on this? Our next speaker is Dr. Pawan Kumar, who will be speaking on behalf of TCPO.
Actually, Sri JVCs are in the meeting, that's why he attributed to me. The topic is the transport in the smart cities. In the morning session, we have learned a lot about the smart city, and sometimes it seems that smart city is a city that is controlled by the computer. ICT tools, some electronic media, that is the one side of the story. But there is another side of the story. Why not we should plan our city in such a way there is no need of having more control on it. Because finally, city is for human being. And for in this case, if you develop the infrastructure in better way and change the human behavior, that will really give the real picture of the smart city. People are driving a BMW car, but open the window and throw the holding bottle on the road. Sometimes this behavior likely to change so that the image of the city can be changed, and that comes in the terms of the smart city. If we talk the smart city, it means we are talking a city that can sustain the economy. If the economic base of the city is strong, it means there is need of the transport hub and its connectivity to the source of production, source of industry. When it talks about the smart city in terms of ecology, to protect the environment, it means we need environmental sustainable transport. When we talk about the inclusive growth, equitable growth, it means the participation of each citizen is important. It means we really need a strong public transport. Then only that city becomes a smart city. In 2008, the National Action Plan on the Climate Change that was released by our Honorable Prime Minister. Under this Climate Change National Action Program, there are 8 missions. And it is the mission number 3, that is the National Mission on Sustainable Habitat, that also gives a clear understanding regarding the growth of the city in terms of the small and medium towns. That is termed as a smart city nowadays. The main aim of this National Mission of Sustainable Habitat is to make the habitat more sustainable. And for these things, 3 focus areas they have identified. The first one is the better urban planning and the modal shift to the public transport. Unless and until the public transport in the proper way have the efficient function, the city cannot be sustained, and that city never becomes a smart city. So for the smart city, the most important thing is we try to shift the people from personal go to the public transport, and then that city can be sustained. That is the well-known photographs everywhere. We all know very well. 50 cars require this much space, 60 bicycles require less space, and both can be replaced by a single bus. It means the mindset, our mindset should be shifted like that. Then only the public transport comes in more picture and city can sustain, and that becomes the smart city in planning terms. When it talks about transport is the smart city, there are 5 important components of it. First one is the intelligence system. Of course, ICT tools are required to control and monitor the traffic movement. But at the same time, all this transport should be integrated. Interconnection is also important. If I am unable to reach to the high-speed train station, how can I going to use? So interconnection space for the pedestrian and for the commuters is also important. At the same time, intermediate transport should be equally important. E-rickshaw, minibus, cycle rickshaw, these all are very important. And at the same time, we should not only develop the physical infrastructure, we should develop the digital infrastructure also. So that they become handy, knowledgeable, and people can feel comfortable to use these type of things in the smart city. Here we just try to highlight some basic requirement of the smart city. When we talk of the smart city, that is going to be just a part of the parallel city in the outskirts area, it requires a multimodal public transport system in the regional context. Now the transport is not only city-based, that is the region-based, and for this thing, their connectivity should be the high-speed train or some other mass transport, so that the parallel city can be properly fed by the smart city, and the smart city can also be supplemented by the parallel city. Whenever it talks about the smart city in the new land, it is important if the arterial roads have the more than 25-meter right of way, we should minimum 2.5 meter pedestrian path is required. At the same time, cycle, pedestrian part is also the part of the same design component. At the same time, our habits should also be changed. If there is no need to travel, we should not travel at all. If really that is important, we should give the priority to the non-motorized transport. And we should enjoy that things also. And only that case, we can make the city more smart in terms of transport. Many times when put the 100 smart cities in a different part of the country, selection of transport technologies are important. The working group on the urban transport for the 12th five-year plan, they have given some criteria, what is the various technology we have, and what is the criteria we have to select for it. But again that depends what is the city side, what is the city for, what is the density, what is the topography will, and what is the economic space of the whole town and city. Accordingly, this selection can help us to make city more smart, move more efficient. Recently, this one thing had come in our own country, that is personal rapid transit system. We know mass rapid transit system, but another one is the personal rapid transit system. And it is just one project and they are taking in Amritsar. Here the passenger rapid transport that comes in the form of PRT, that is board car. It is nothing but a 4-year, 6-seater battery or vehicle without a driver. They have a dedicated lane and that gives the connectivity into the 2 buildings. And this type of the project they have taken in Amritsar, they try to connect the Golden Temple with the other part of the city. And this type of the concept may come also in the terms of smart city. Another thing is, When the smart city site is defined, automatically the price goes high. So let us in this case, first the transport corridor should be defined, and accordingly we should put the development control. We put the high FSR, low FSR, premium FAR, and fix the route for it. Fix the process for the selling and purchase of the property in that particular corridor. Only in that case, this type of the land and transport model can be worked more effectively. And then we can control the development along the transit corridor. Otherwise, it's beyond the control. Another important thing is we should give priority to the non-motorized transport. Here, this photograph we have taken from the Nanded city from Maharashtra that was funded by under the JNURE project. We can see they have given the respect for each and every users. They have given the footpath, they have given the carriageway, they have the multi-user for the vendors, they have given the street lighting, non-motorized vehicles. All these things they have considered the designing parts. And that's why this type of the project is important, and they have award-winning project under the JNURE. So this concept is also important in terms of transport in the smart city. Apart from the transport, there is so many non-transport components which also affect the character of the smart city. When the land is required for the transport, land acquisition cost, displacement of the family cost, social displacement cost, but at the same time, we are improving the administration, law and order, we are getting a better connectivity for the health and education. So all this non-transport parameter is also important to define, to make a city smart. Apart from this thing, the new concept recently has come, that is the NAMA, National Appropriate Mitigation Action for the Sustainable Transport. In Asian countries, this concept was floating. But in Indian context, since under the JNURE, we have prepared the comprehensive mobility plan for the mission city. When the city plan, this type of the mobility plan we have, we just to try to focus on the environmental sustainable transport. Putting on the more emphasis, how can we reduce the carbon emission? And when this strategy merge with the mobility plan, that is nothing but enough. And that is possible in our country. When the next smart city, this type of the concept can be implemented. Yes, sir, that is my last slide. Whenever it talks connectivity between the smart city, it needs all type of integration. Modal integration, financial integration, fair integration, all these things. And it's not so easy. Because many players are in the market. So this integration is also important. Another one city is already developed, and a smart city is a new one. The connectivity, this thing is another requirement. How we have to monitor and control the transport and connectivity between the two cities. Apart from this thing, development along the transport in terms of housing the real sector is another challenging task. Apart from this thing, smart city needs maid servant, rickshaw wala, newspaper wala, driver. For them, how can provide the equitable public transport? Can they afford to raise the transport cost there? And apart from this thing, transport is a state matter. If the state agency is not capable to do that, nothing will be happening. So for this thing, we have to strengthen institutional arrangement so that smart city can be work effectively. Thank you.
Any great question, because you had a very comprehensive overview of some of the policies in this sector. Okay, so now the last presentation is Ravi Gupta of TMC.
Thank you. A very good afternoon to all of you. One of the parents was speaking last in the session is that most of your points that I have in the presentation are already covered. So I had to do a rethink of my presentation in a format to all of you. It also gives me the benefit that I don't have any speaker after me, so that I can take all the time. But I'll not bore you with my presentation. We've all heard about intelligent planning be done. We've heard about automatic vehicle tracking systems. We've heard about all the data that is being generated. Now, apart from the railways and the flights, which mostly leave on schedule, when we are talking about public transportation on the roads, which are essentially the buses or the autos, they don't run against the schedule. So while the bus may leave the depot on time, but then as the day progresses, there are jams on the roads, there could be diversions, as a result of which these schedules turn to go haywire. Now, while all this information may be with the command center at, let's say, the transport headquarters or the concessionaire which is managing the buses, that information is still not going to the ultimate user, which is the commuter. And therefore, I was very delighted when I received this invitation from ELTS to showcase some of the strategies that my company, which is DITS, has deployed to essentially pass this information to the consumers in real time. Because otherwise it's meaningless. If you still have to walk to the bus depot and look on the passenger information system there to see what time the bus will arrive, it's pointless because you've already left home and you're maybe waiting at the bus queue shelter. So with this premise, which I have sort of rethought, I'll just quickly move on. I will first give you a brief introduction of the company that I'm representing. It's called Delhi Integrated Multimodal Transit Systems Limited. It's an equal equity partnership between the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi and the IDFC Foundation, which is a not-for-profit initiative by IDFC Limited. DITS is essentially into urban transport, planning, advisory services, engineering, operations, and transport technologies. As the head for the information technology here at DITS, I will essentially be focusing on some of the technologies that we have deployed, and Ms. Kandhar did mention about the intelligent transport systems being developed at Gujarat. We will sort of share very briefly. Some of the key projects and initiatives that the ITS has done is in terms of mobility planning. Those cities are mentioned there. The bus rapid transit. The intelligent signaling systems, Mr. Shukla did mention about some of the Wi-Fi signaling systems that are on the horizon. We are implementing that at Surat, so I will cover that subsequently in our slides, time permitting. Depot planning and design, bus operations management, essentially the cluster bus. Some of the key projects that we've done essentially at Delhi are on the intelligent transport systems. So we've done electronic ticketing, we have GPS-based public bus management systems, we've done planning and design for mass transit systems, the light rail, monorail. We've done even this transit center planning and design at so the ISBTs at Kashmiri Gate, Anand Vihar, Sarai Kalika have been planned and designed by us. And the pedestrian and facility design for various other passes, etc. So very quickly, I'll skip this slide because most of my speakers have covered this one. What are the key drivers in the Indian context? So this again, has covered it. The first transportation policy was in 2006, which started to focus on moving people and not vehicles. So the points that are there in the box are the highlight here, which is to build capacity to plan for sustainable urban transport, have intelligent traffic systems, reduce carbon footprints, and have better technologies. Now this slide is something which essentially should grab your attention. Historically, we've been investing in transport systems, so we'll have all the monorails and the etc., all the latest technology where we invest in transport infrastructure. So you have state-of-the-art bus depots. But we got to invest in IT infrastructure. And why I say that? All the data that is being generated via a GPS or an electronic ticketing machine or a passenger information system is still not reaching the end user, which is the commuter. He is still hazy about when will my bus arrive. Let's say if he were to take a bus, even though he's a regular, takes a bus number 6 to 3 every day, still hazy when will this bus actually arrive. We are still hazy about processing data, and so investments in IT infrastructure remain elusive. Maybe they are at the back end, but what kind of data are we talking about? At DIMPS alone, we have an automatic AVL, which is the vehicle location system. We track 45,000 vehicles every day. Can somebody guess the amount of data that is generated every day and the kind of servers that you require to process that data? 25 GB of data every day and 90 million location units every day. That is 9 crore locations I have every day flowing from each one of those 45,000 vehicles. And this is, I'm talking about the buses, I'm talking about the 30,000 odd autos. And as we give new permits, we need to have more information flowing in, and so we need to process that data real time. We talk about intelligent signaling systems. We invest in those state-of-the-art cameras, we invest in the state-of-the-art radars. What will we do with that data? Will we just have a man sitting in an operations center looking at those feeds that are coming there, or do we actually propose to use that information and cascade it to the end user? So this is my key slide. Rest all follows, which follows in subsequent slides are only uses. We need to begin with smart transport planning. So you need to have a decision support system. You need to know, when you know that there is a condition on the road, what does one do the next day? So you have to build into efficient transport operations, which means that you may have to dynamically schedule or change the frequency at which your buses operate, for example. Electronic ticketing system. We have at Delhi electronic ticketing system in 1,000 cluster buses. We immediately come to know whenever a conductor issues a ticket, 5 rupees or 15 rupees, we know the ridership. We got to check which are the areas where my passengers travel more. So let's say if people are using 15 rupee ticket, being issued 15 rupee tickets more, then I know that I need, these are all long haul or longer duration rides. The bus occupancy will be lower, which means that I have to run more buses on that route. Then we come on to this is where I'm passionate about, that my passengers need to know real time whatever is happening. It's not like a railways where I know that this train will depart at this time and I go at the station, or a flight. And then you have connected bus stops, live tracking feeds, and an enhanced passenger service experience. So our experience in Delhi, very quickly, as I mentioned, all these cluster buses, paratransit and public service vehicles, these are the 45,000 vehicles that I'm talking about. We track them real time. We have built a data center here that is capable to track 1 lakh autos and yellow cabs. However, today 28 or 30,000 autos are using GPS. I think one of you raised the question to Mr. Shukla, why are not all of them using GPS? You have the option today in the device to be switched off. Better enforcement is the answer. You can install devices, but you can't force them to switch it on. I'll give you a very quick analysis of what all is tracked real time. So, for example, these are the depots. In the beginning of the day, I know that 232 buses were allotted duties and how many of them actually left the depot, 210. So you immediately have a dashboard and a snapshot. You know how many of your drivers are missing their bus stops. So I immediately know that this bus driver of 469 route at this duty had to stop at 9 stops and he missed 1 stop. He will be hauled up. Some of the drivers say that they were in a traffic jam. We do all these analytics, that's what I was saying. Unless we do analytics with data, it's pointless and meaningless. So, I mean, I'll not get into the nitty-gritties of explaining this graph, but this graph essentially tells you, if he says I was in a traffic jam, here are all the bus stops. If I was in a traffic jam here, all the other blue lines tell you whether the other buses that passed between those 2 stops were also in a traffic jam or not. So you immediately come to know whether this driver who is making a claim is making a false claim or is making the right claim, and basis that he is paid. So in the month of May, for example, 2,207 claimed that there were traffic jams. We validated, yes, they were correct, and these were all the false drivers making claims, and therefore they were taking legal action against. This essentially, what does this mean? It essentially means improvement of service to the end user, which is the commuter. So in the paucity of time, we deploy electronic ticketing machines, as I just mentioned to you. Tickets are issued by cash, or we have built this option of a smart card. You tap your card, it will be preloaded. You tap your card in the machine, you will be issued a ticket, and the information feeds into real time in our backend server and do analytics, as I mentioned. You figure out what is my ridership, which bus is going empty. So if the bus is going empty, then you can always reschedule it to another route which is experiencing heavy traffic. Passenger information system, most of my colleagues, earlier speakers have spoken about it. Now this is something very interesting. As I was talking, we are receiving lots of information. How does this flow to the consumer? TIMTS has developed this website. This is an independent website. This is web-based and your journey planner. You key in your bus route number, you will get a list of all the bus stops. You want to check the bus schedule, you key in your bus, it will give you real time what time is your bus arriving at a particular bus stop. And this is in motion. We in fact also have developed the same web app on your mobile phone. So one of my speakers said, you cannot be smart unless you have a smartphone. And which is correct. So you download this app from Google Play. This is the bus info app. You have route details, you can locate your bus stop, you can find out the time of arrival. So this is the time of arrival thing. It will tell you this 1 minute the bus is arriving at Anandpur. In the next 6 minutes is your other bus, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and so on and so forth. We are in the process of developing, we will be launching it day after tomorrow, the occupancy of the buses. So you just have to open the app, you will figure out whether you get a seat there or whether you got to travel standing. And then you can make a decision. And you as a consumer can make that decision standing there at the bus stop. That if the next bus that is coming in the next 1 minute shows me that it is full and I want to travel standing, I'd rather take the metro train. We spoke about intelligent signaling systems. At Delhi, we have commissioned at 17 junctions. It's a radar-based system. It actually, there's a matrix of cameras that sense the length of the queue of cars along the length as well as along the width, and accordingly they manage these signaling and lighting systems. The system is designed to cover 750 junctions. Today commissioned only at 17 junctions in Delhi. Ms. Kandar spoke about the ITS being implemented, so we are implementing. The ITS is revamping the entire signaling system at Ahmedabad. Phase 2 will build an camera interface as well. This is what Mr. Anand Shukla spoke about, the Wi-Fi traffic signals. And obviously we all know that at times we got some of the other department comes and takes the road out. Signals stop working. This is being implemented by us at Surat PRB. So our DIPS is there. We are not only talking about technologies, we are implementing them as well. This is our operations control center, and this is where my last 3 slides, my key slides, where I'll actually tell you how this information is being passed to the end user. So this application, Mr. Shukla, Traffic Commissioner of Police, did mention Pucho. This application was launched last Friday by the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. We developed this application. Why Pucho? Traditionally, and this is targeted at essentially people who wanting to find an auto, so to begin with. I'll cut the surprise. Traditionally, we all use Veru cabs, mega cabs, and we have a contact center where we call them and then they dispatch the cab. But for the autos which are there, or some of the lesser cab operators who cannot afford to invest in a contact center, it's not possible. So mobile apps, that's the latest that's happening, and that is the power of using information technology. We have GPS in the drivers. So we thought, why not build this app, give it to all the smartphone users. We will shortly are developing it on other platforms and for people who do not own a smartphone. I'll not go through the executive summary. This is how the screen looks. You open the Pucho app, it tells you you are here, and it shows you all the available autos which are next to you. These are available autos. They are not moving. They have been stationary there for the past 5 minutes, and then they'll be displayed there. You touch an auto there on the screen. It will show you its registration number. It will allow you the option to call him. You can negotiate your fare with him. It's not only this. You can search the availability of autos at a different location. So for example, your daughter or your sister or your brother, you are at this location and they want, or maybe your son, they want to know that, if an auto is there or they want to hail an auto, you can sitting here, figure out whether at the location of your relative you have an auto there, you can make a call, dispatch you there. Second, decision making. For example, for women, they essentially travel using metros, let's say. Metro doesn't give you the last mile connectivity, you have to depend on an auto. While before you reach your destination, you just open this app, figure out if there are autos at your destination or not. If there are no autos, you can immediately call up your family and ask them to come to the station and pick you up. This has all the other options of giving you the fare, tracking you also online. So it has a safety feature. So the moment you sit in an auto, you can, if you want, if you don't want to be tracked, then obviously the option is there. But if you want, you can immediately press a button only. Immediately your auto number and your location and your tracking will be sent to your parents or whomsoever you want. That SMS goes. Now they know that okay, you're traveling alone in the night, and which is the auto number that is driving you, which is his driver number. This is what information should do. You should not sit in operation control rooms, command centers. You should disseminate this information to the public, and this is the third app. This is my last slide, second last slide. We also have a mobile security application, especially for the women. If you download this application again from Android, Google Play, you can configure 5 of your close relatives, of your parents or brother or sister, enter their numbers here first, only one time. So you can add your emergency contact services where I'm saying emergency contacts. After that, you immediately, if you sit in any auto and provided the GPS of that auto is on, or you can also get yourself tracked if your phone has a GPS. In case you're in a situation where this app has a button called the panic button, you press the panic button for 2 seconds, your coordinates will be emailed to your emergency contacts immediately. And they can track you sitting in their home and take corrective action, obviously, if they think that there is an issue with you. So this is how you got to make the user comfortable using public transport. So what the future holds for you? This is what I would say, that we have all the data which is being generated. We have RFIDs, we have cameras, we have CCTVs, we have smartphones, Twitter. I mean, all this data is being generated at a velocity, at a variety of sources. The volume of data is running. I think earlier when I was studying, I didn't know what a gigabyte is. Today I got to learn what a zettabyte is. And as I mentioned, you got to pass them to the users and the operators. He needs to make the decision. He needs to, for urban transportation, he needs to decide, he needs to have the power of information with him in his or her hands. A slide. What do I think are the challenges here? And I think that some of my earlier speakers did mention. We speak, we talk, and I think I have read, when I sort of surf the net, I've read immense amount of literature on transport demand forecast. Cars will be X passenger car units per hour, and in this city by this time, etc., etc. But nobody talks about the comprehensive mobility plan. Do we at all think how many of the people actually walk on the roads, or do we plan to build flyovers only to ease the rich who travel in cars? Do we make spaces? I think again my speaker before me did talk about leaving spaces for the bicyclists or the pedestrians. Do we talk about the last mile connectivity? How would you find? I mean, there's a metro there, but how would he reach home? Or her, how would she reach home? User maturity. Our users, which is essentially people who are implementing these projects or mandating these projects, are getting mature. But today I still find that it's driven by the L1 syndrome. Lowest cost gets bid. Does that ensure quality? I don't know. Are we sometimes driven by only vendors? Okay, you've done this, fine, you will develop the solution for me. But do we take into account people who are using technologies to build more effective solutions? 0 to 100 in 3 months flat. We take long times to decide on projects. Once it's signed, implement and execute immediately in 3 months. Standardization of protocols. Today, I think BIS has taken an initiative, but today we have no standard protocols in terms of standards for a GPS device. So we have multiple GPS vendors in our country, but the protocols at which they will transmit information, what specifications, that is still work in progress. And we are doing these apps, etc., for free. When will we earn money? So when will the Indian consumer actually learn to pay up for the information that is arriving at his doorstep? With this, I leave you with certain questions. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumar. You gave such an interesting presentation that I will request the audience to pucho. Because some of the apps are very, very good, considering the requirement of the city. Especially in business.
In my city, because the trains, they almost arrive around midnight or night time, and the girls are traveling alone. So this app is very good for the safety of the girls. There are at least 40,000 girls in my city. So how to proceed from it? How do I go for it?
Thank you.
The only thing that is mandatory here is GPS. So, as I mentioned, I think someone had earlier this question also. The government can enforce, so for example, in Delhi, for all these public service vehicles, the autos, the buses, people have GPS. Not only have GPS, catches, they got to keep the GPS on. So, that's all. That's all that you need to provide me. The rest all is cakewalk. The apps get developed in 3 to 4 months time frame. But the enforcement of the drivers, because see, there is a catch-22 situation here, and there is a dilemma here. Mr. Anil Shukla, Commissioner of Police, we interact a lot. Now his interest is, the GPS also gives you the speed. Most of us overspeed. So he at times asks me, give me the information of autos that were overspeeding. The moment I share that information of overspeeding, he challans them. So what does the driver do? He switches off the GPS. Now this is for us to decide. This is for us to decide where is that optimal balance. You want to challan them for overspeeding, or you want to have safety? Because ultimately, or the enforcement, which is come down heavily if you figure out that he has the GPS off. But then, you have a person who can find him only there and then, maybe after 500 meters, he'll again put the GPS off. So, to answer your question, you give me GPS feed, I'll give you the solution. Thank you.
It seems that no more questions. We are already like 40 minutes or so. So we stop here. And I would like to thank all the panelists for making very interesting presentations. Great.
May I sir invite you to give some closing remarks for the session, summarizing the session itself and some of the...
I thought to do it, but we are so late that it will not be,
5 minutes. It should
sorry,
be
because we are late, but the next is for 40 minutes. So, I would like to say only one thing. As I said in the beginning, that I am here to take the input, and the way technology is progressing, and the way urban water bodies, state governments are responding, I am very hopeful about 2 things. That gradually, as part of the most important part of the smart city, we will have smart public transport systems in all the major cities. So I am very assured by all these presentations that we will have, as part of the smart city, the best transport system, public transport system.
Thank you, sir. And before we end, just lastly again, any question to any of the panelists before we end up? No? So, thank you all the individuals on the dais, and we want to present a token of appreciation to all the speakers for taking the time. Question then? Okay. And ask the question, please.
My question is from Mr. Ravi Gupta. Sir, अगर हमारे apps पूछो तो app है, so अगर if other 5 contacts are switched off, then what happened? Sorry,
we have a function. If the phone is switched off, nothing can happen. To answer your question very honestly. However, if you put your phone on vibrate and let's say you're not attending to your phone, we have built the functionality of a siren. So all that the user who's in a panic has to press his power on and off key button 3 times, and your contacts will get a siren on their phone, or the phone will vibrate continuously. So if you're in a meeting and your phone is, even if your phone is in a vibrate or a silent mode, the siren will sound. But if your phone is switched off, the emergency contact's phone is switched off, there's nothing can be done.
maybe it should drawback.
That's a drawback of technology, excessive dependence on the mobile phones.
So if you link it to the nearest police station, so it's useful maybe, no?
Okay, so you're saying that I link it to the nearest police station? Absolutely, that's an option. And we are working, for example, in Delhi with Mr. Shukla to how to see that that can be integrated.
It is only an SMS system, not a calling system.
It is an SMS system for Delhi, yes. It's not a calling system because you're in panic, you do not have the luxury to make a phone call. So you just have to press the button for 2 seconds and the SMS goes.
Not a call.
How, if you're in a panic, how will you make a call?
No, just if it's ring,
yes, if you can make a call, then absolutely fine. Then there is
only if I press the button and it's ring, that other end, then it's better instead of SMS.
Okay, let's do one thing. I think I'm needing the other speakers to be correct offline, outside the box. Thank you. Sure.
So, we will give away token of mementos to our speakers. May I request the chair of the session, Mr. Ketan, to give away the memento to Mona Kandar, Secretary, Department of Urban Development. Thank you, Monaji, for elaborating on Gujarat urban ICT initiatives. To Mr. Anju Parvez, who is the head of BMTC. Mr. Prashant Chaudhary from CA. To Ravi P. Gupta, who is the head of IT. AI MTS. And to Mr. Pawan Kumar, who is the associate. Thank you so much. And I will take a liberty of giving the